Well, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Ashley. Welcome to the Court Reserve Pickleball Education Webinar Series. We are so excited to have you today. We have board members of PebbleCreek Pickleball Club located in beautiful Arizona with us on the call today. Nancy and Jeff, welcome to our webinar today. We are so excited to have you guys. So what we are going to do today is a webinar all about PebbleCreek's Pickleball Club. They are in a beautiful part of Arizona. They have a lot of great things to talk to us about. And you guys, of course, are in the Zoom webinar format. So if you have questions that you would like to ask Nancy and Jeff, we will answer those towards the end of the presentation today. And you can put those in the chat or the Q&A box as well. If you have some staff or admin or someone you would like to watch this, we will put this up on the Court Reserve YouTube channel. It's probably Monday of next week, and you can find it there. So Nancy and Jeff, first, hello, how are you today?
Good morning.
So tell us first a little bit about your facility and who you guys are as the board and what you guys do for PebbleCreek.
Well, thank you and appreciate the opportunity to share some of our do's and don'ts of the world. So we have 20 current courts and we have just under 1,600 members. And if you put the math to those two things, it's not a great odds. So we have struggled with growing pains over the last 5 years, like everybody else in the country and out of country. Our board consists of 5 officers, and like everybody else, most of our members just want to play and want the board to run smoothly, and we don't have enough courts.
Which is a problem we hear all over the place. So tell me a little bit about your board, length of time that you guys serve. How do you have elections? Like, what does that look like quickly?
We serve for a 1-year term, and any board member is welcome to rerun. Our board has gone through a lot of transition in the previous 5 years. I think I counted up in 4 years, we went through 6 resignations. And so we have had some, like I say, growing pains and et cetera, but we elected a new board last year. Our board elections are in March. So the newest board just started last month, and 2 of us returned, both myself as president and our treasurer. But the heavy lifting was done with last year's board, which is what Jeff was a part of. And we really did a lot of internal work, I think. Jeff, I'll let you jump in.
Yeah, I think one of the things that we found most effective is that if we can offload basically the tactical day-to-day or logistical efforts, it makes it easier to get the volunteers involved on the front line. They want to be out there playing with their friends as well. They don't want to have to be worrying about the maintenance issues or scheduling on court reserve, working through the ratings processes. And then it allows them to kind of get a feeling for the breadth of the organization and then take a second shift, if you will, at a deeper level in those areas that interest them. The only other thing I would also say about the board level is that Nancy's done a great job of taking a very laid back structure and turning it into an organized and efficient structure. It was that relationship that she built with our HOA association that has us looking to build 16 more courts that should be ready in the first quarter of next year. So that was a big changeover. They've been talking about it for 5 years, but now they've finally started to move some dirt, as we like to say.
Wow, that's awesome. So you're going to go from 20 courts to a total of
36 by
wow.
Probably sometime the end of this year or Q1 of next year.
Wow. So as a board, how do you guys maintain the facility? Because you are volunteers. What does that look like?
So we do not own the courts. They are property of the HOA. And so we rely on the HOA for all the big stuff. And we have a maintenance, we call it a fix-it crew that Jeff was instrumental in setting up, and they do the day-to-day little stuff and do a lot of work orders to the HOA. And again, although we have almost 1,600 members, our community, and we are a private entity, we're a private community, we think we should be number one on the HOA maintenance staff list. And sadly enough, we're not. But you know, we have 5,400 homes right now in our community.
5,400.
Yes.
Wow. Okay. So yeah, that's where you get all those members that want to play pickleball.
Yes. And people definitely move here for pickleball.
Wow. That's incredible. Well, what you guys have built there brings people. So you would think that they would put you first on the list. They can sell more home sites. So tell me.
Go ahead, Ashley.
No, I was going to say, tell me a little bit. People are always asking, you know, types of courts, types of lights, any kind of encouragement or ideas that people who are going to open up new courts, things you've learned from having your type of court or your type of lighting. Do you guys have any advice?
Jeff, you did a lot of work on lighting, so I'm going to let you take on this, but I will say that when I moved here 6 years ago, they had 4 lit courts that we weren't allowed to have on at night. So that was somewhat interesting. And we have progressed with the HOA to not only have those 4 courts, but we got 8 more lit. But Jeff, I'll let you talk about lights.
Yeah, and I will start off by saying, Ashley, we're pretty much an open book. You can go to, or the members on this call can go to pcpickleball.org. And if you look under the About Us, you can actually see the lighting plan we have for the new courts that we're building. You can actually see the court plan as well as the physical, the layout, and the whole neighborhood impact issues that people want to see because we had to get them approved. Of course, if you're living right around the courts, you don't want super bright lights. And so just the ones that you're showing here on this slide, 8 of those courts were just lit in the last year and a half, and we used Musco lighting for those. The benefit for the new lights that we put in place is that while it's super bright, I would put it actually at a daylight level when those lights are on. The lighting, once you get on the other side of that perimeter wall that you can see in that picture, the light doesn't go outside of there. It's all shining down on those courts itself. And on the other side where the new courts are going to be going, they won't be as bright as these lights will be. But you know, it's funny what we see at night. There's a window of time when people will come out to use the pickleball courts, and that typically is right around the dinner hour, right after the dinner hour until about 8 or 8:30. And then later at night past that, you know, we've got a lot of vacant court space. So what we anticipate is that hardcore people that as they move here and we see our age drop as far as the average age of the resident, they'll probably gravitate to our brightest lights for later on. And then for the new courts that we have going on, they'll probably have a voluntary, we'll probably do a lights out as we don't need them. Last thing I would say on the court surfacing, you know, there's regular rehab that has to be done, and the HOA is really good about keeping a schedule up on that. For instance, this summer, we're going through court resurfacing on all of those 20 courts. Last summer, they replaced all the fencing, and we extended the gates and the fencing down the middle part. I think part of the main issue, if I was developing courts now that I still see people having a problem with, is they leave an opening between the 2 different courts thinking that they're making it more accessible. But really what they do is they just allow for balls to go back and forth, and people are chasing balls all over the place. So having those fences go all the way through seems like a no-brainer.
Oh, that's good advice. Yeah, it's it's, you know, people, they build their courts differently, but we can learn from that as well. So thank you guys for sharing that. So, all right, I think we're going to move on to our next topic around memberships and pricing. So tell us how you guys do it out at Pebble Creek.
So to begin with, you do not have to be a member to use the HOA courts. So we have both members and less than 24 non-members that come out off and on to use our courts. So our membership annual dues are $50. Now, one thing we haven't said yet is to get these new 16 courts, the Pickleball Club committed $500,000 towards them. So we really did want the courts, and obviously we need them. And so our annual dues are $50. The first time you join the club, we charge a $50 initiation fee, which goes directly to our fundraising for the new courts. We also, and have to give credit to a previous board, we have what's called lifetime dues. And in order to raise a good chunk of that $500,000 commitment, we offered a lifetime dues of $400. And that obviously means exactly what it is, that you don't have to pay any other dues while you're a resident here.
Okay.
And so that was a great way to get a huge chunk of our obligation taken care of. And because it was very successful, a previous board then decided to extend that opportunity to new people, but they raised the price. So now lifetime membership is $600. That only gets you out of the dues portion of it. There's been a lot of discussion on our board of, do we want to continue the lifetime dues after we meet our obligation? Because obviously, if we don't have dues coming in, and we will still have expenses going out, but we don't have that, the balance is still very good right now. So we're okay. So those are our two choices. You can pay annually, and we do have renewals set up through Court Reserve. And we use it as an anniversary date instead of, we were at everybody renews January 1, and then we prorated, and we've switched to anniversary dates, which has worked out relatively well for us.
Well, and it continues putting money in the bank too, so that
Yes.
people are paying and things of that nature. So that's awesome. So tell us about any other ways that your HOA Pickleball Club can generate revenue. Do you guys do any classes, lessons, clinics, any of that?
So yes, and yes. We host a large sanctioned tournament here once a year, and we drew 513 players last year. And so that is a huge fundraiser. Our sponsorship team went out and just did a marvelous job in getting sponsors for our tournament. And that is the big fundraiser of the year. We have done this for 6 years. And then our other big fundraiser that has been so successful, we call Coaching for Courts. And we have our higher level players. They will do coaching for groups of 2, 3, or 4 players. And then those players may donate. It's not a necessity. They may donate to the courts, and our members are extremely generous. We've also, for fundraisers, have a golf tournament here at PebbleCreek. We did a concert. Some of our members put on a concert with donations. But just as important, we have non-fundraising events. We start with if you've never played pickleball before, we start with an introduction to pickleball. And basically that's a one and done class. it's open to any resident. And we go over safety, which end of the paddle to hold and minor things like that. And then from that class, if people choose, non-members or members can go to a 1.0 class, which gets into a little bit more time using skill, etc. And players can stay in that class several times. Again, we're not having them become experts, but we want to be sure that they're comfortable, they know how to score, they can go out and with others at least know a little bit about pickleball. So those are open to all of our residents. If you move on from the 1.0 class to the 2.0 class, that's where we ask you to become a member. And 2.0, we offer during the winter 2 2.0 classes a week. One is based on skills and drills. The other is gameplay, all with coaching. And we progress up through our education from that point. We have skills and strategies for different levels, the 2.5s, the 3.0s, 3.5s, and above.
Wow, I want to move to PebbleCreek. I mean, it's just a great progression, right? Because if, you're like, us in Florida, there's a lot of public courts and people show up and you hope you get someone nice enough to teach you how to play. So what a great progressive way to teach people the rules, the etiquette, everything. That's awesome.
So
and it drives revenue.
We also do a couple of club tournaments that are included in the membership.
Thank you. Yes.
That's okay. And down to the 2.0 level. So folks that are thinking they're addicted anyway, but they want to try it kind of with a little bit more pressure on it, even at the 2.0 level, they can get in, or 2.5 level. I'm sorry, Nancy, that they can be in. And then on fundraising, we've talked about, we might offer a couple more fundraising tournaments, $10 or something, just so that folks can get that experience a little bit more. But there's a lot of volunteer time that's included in that we're just trying to be wary of.
Yeah, that's awesome.
The addition I would add to what Jeff is saying is we also try to strike as a board a balance. Are we a fundraising club, or we are a club that do fundraising? We want to be sure that we want to have other activities, whether it's socials, etc., that we're just not based on fundraising. And as a board, we really do try and strike that balance.
Yeah, that's great, because I read on your website that you guys, you're pushing the ability to have fun and community and the social aspect as well. So I love that as well. I want to go into this a little on the instructor and lesson part a little bit. Tell us about some of your instructors, where they've come from and how they've been involved at your organization.
Well, our instructors, we've got a wide variety of ability here. And so we do have some certified instructors, and they have been very generous in their time. However, again, being certified, they also we cannot have them be paid at using our courts. Mm-hmm. But we also don't want to take their ability away for going to the local courts. But most of our instructors for the coaching for courts are all 4.5 level and above. We do have a couple of 4.0s, but mainly 4.5 and above. For our player development, which is mainly our skills and strategies, those, we want to be sure that the instructors there are usually at least one rating level, and we'll talk later about ratings, but rating level above what skill they're trying to teach, or what class they're trying to teach. So if a 3.0 class, instructors would hopefully be at least 4.0 and above, and we just ask for volunteers. Now we have lead instructors on each level, and they actually last year got together almost weekly and talked about what skills they were teaching. And our player development chair organized that. If you look on our website that Jeff mentioned, we have a ton of videos that players can go to, or anyone can go to, and also get that experience of the pro.
Okay, so since we're on the topic, talk to us about ratings and how you guys have changed that, modified that. And I know one of our next slides is really around programming that kind of falls into that. Can you talk to us a little bit about that?
Ratings is a no-win scenario. We are actually, the board currently is trying to look and ask if we really need, as a club, to be in the ratings game. I believe, and this is just, I've never done research, I believe that most club ratings are a half a point to a point above where your UTPR or your tournament play would be. And my theory on that is because you started, who's your best player? Well, they're a 5-0. Well, that may be true, or it may be true about 5 years ago. And our rating system has been a one-way street. We move people up, but we never have had the heart to move people down. People can request, but we're a social club. We don't want, it's been real hard. So we are currently discussing ratings. In the 6 years I've been here, I think we've gone through 4 different rating scenarios, and we're kind of back to the beginning. Our current ratings team has done an excellent job saying it's a matter of skill and play. And what we've used our ratings for is our round robins. And so we're looking again, we say you need a ratings to play in a level round robin, but if our round robins are social, and if you can be comparable, trying to get away from competitive, as far as that has too many connotations, if you can be comparable to the other players, that's what we really want. We want people to go out, have parity of play, and have fun. And because if you need skill for ratings, which we require, a 2-5 player may not have all the skills required to move to a 3-0. And yet, if they go out and play with those 3-0s, who may not be really a 3-0 player, they're saying, well, why am I a 2-5? I can beat the 3-0s. So it's an interesting marriage right now for us.
And so that must make some of your, round robins and tournaments and things that you guys are doing in-house, it's frustrating because it's an after the fact conversation. I shouldn't have been at that level. I should have played higher, or vice versa.
Yes, everyone thinks that, they should be probably higher than not everyone, but a lot of people. And a lot of them are actually very right that we've got 3-0 players that are better than our 3-5s, but they cannot exhibit the skill necessary that for a 3-5 player. And again, due to age, injury, multitudes of things, our 3-5 players may not all be our 3-5 players are not all 3-5 players. They really are 3-0s. And then we have other people saying, oh, well, you should be an X level player. So our ratings has been hard.
So tell me what some of your most popular programs, whether it's classes or maybe your leagues or round robins, what seems to be the favorites?
Yes. So we offer 17 round robins a week, different round robins. So we offer men's, women's, and mixed each week at the 2-5, 3-0, 3-5, 4-0, and some 4-5, 5-0 sometimes have been combined, sometimes have been separated. And so that is very popular. We just did some analysis, and since October in round robins, we've had close to 11,000 reservations made through round robins. Now, keep in mind, those are not unique. When I play round robins, I play them as many times a week. I mean, I try and play weekly.
Mhm.
And so I would be in that count for, probably 25 of those. So that number is not unique, but it does show they're very popular. Our ladders, we offer both a men's and a women's ladder, and each of those had over 100 participants registered. They don't all play every week again. The other thing that we have not mentioned yet is because of our numbers and the number of courts, we don't allow reservations. Last year, our board made a tough decision to not allow any reservations. And we have two programs. One is called Open Play and the other is called Drop-In. Our drop-in play are for individuals or anybody less than a group of four. It's like a pickup game in basketball. You just go down and you can put your paddle in with other players that are at drop-in and play for, whatever duration you want. And then we have open play on a lot of courts where you come down with your prearranged group of 4 players. And all 4 players put their paddles in a box. You go on to a court, you play 1 game, 2-11, traditional scoring. I say these things, and you only win by 1. And then you rotate off, and then the next group of 4 in the box rotate on. And so that was a hard transition for our members to begin with, that everybody liked. We used an hour and 45-minute time blocks for reservations, and everyone really liked when someone in their group got a court. But there were a lot more people unhappy because they didn't get courts. And due to internet speed, hotspots, whatever, we had some people who could get courts 4 times a week, and we had other people who couldn't get a court 4 times in a month. And so we decided to go away and use these 2 systems, which now that they're active, people are saying, well, are we going to have to go back to reservations when we get our new courts? And people are also saying, when do we get to go back to reservations with the new courts? But that'll be a very interesting club discussion.
Yeah. Wow.
I would add, if I can, on that one, because we're so constrained on space, by Nancy and the board changing over to what was initially not a popular decision, because most people had asked for reservations. It turned out to be the most efficient way to use the courts and to turn over. And now what we hear is a lot of feedback from people who say, I don't even need 4. I can come down with me and a buddy, or me and 3 people, but we couldn't get that 4th, and we'll always pick somebody up from drop-in, and then we can move into the open play system. So we've got different groupings of these boxes that she references that keeps people moving, and the court's always in place. So it's the peak time for us is really peak temperature for us. Whether it's too cold or too hot, you find a window of time when the most people come down, and it's very, very efficient the way that it's set up now. So tribute to what she's been able to do.
And it's always been a team effort.
Yeah, and you try and make the most people happy, but you're never going to win them all.
Absolutely.
All right. So as we're coming up to the half hour, if anybody that's on the call wants to have or ask a general question, please put that in the Q&A or chat. But really, Nancy and Jeff, any other things that you think have made you guys very successful, or things that you would give as encouragement to the pickleball world as some last final thoughts here?
Jeff, I'll let you start.
So if, as we were preparing for this, I would talk about how does court reserve weave into this. If you've got some clubs who are a for pay sort of structure and people for use, When people come down, they all want that same expectation of they want the best game possible or the best value possible for either their time or their money that they're going to spend. And so one of the things that you guys have coming up with player matchmaking, I think will be very helpful because folks can have that circle that they want to have, available to them that they can actually come and schedule their time or money to do. What we had to incorporate was how do we make those courts the most available at the peak times that we need. And you can see on the website that I referenced, over on the home page, just on the left-hand side, and we also display this now as the court reserve widget that actually show what courts are available and when. So people will have that experience before they even walk in. We've got so many people, 50% of our members are between 2.5 and 3.0 levels. So the days that those folks have their round robins, we actually have to do multiple sessions because we only want to reserve so many courts for round robins and want to leave so many courts open for open play. So you can actually see that from the website or from the app or down at the monitor that we display at the courts themselves. And then schedule your time accordingly, so you've got the least amount of waiting as possible. So it's using the tools that you can to provide the best overall member experience.
So we have a question that you guys, the question is, so there is no charge for courts, but people can be members and kind of help take care of the courts, but you guys do not charge for your courts. Do you charge for your round robins or any of your classes?
No, all of that's included in the membership fee, so that either that lifetime membership or the $50 per year, whichever program the person chooses, is actually all encompassing of the round robins, the skills and strategies, the club tournaments that are available. And really that's what makes it successful. People know they've got a fantastic deal going for the amount of teaching and play that they get here at PebbleCreek.
Absolutely. Do you guys play against any other local entities or pickleball clubs in the area? Do you guys get together and play in any sort of way?
Nancy?
In general, no. We tried to, a couple of years ago, play against some other ropes-in communities, which is what we are. And we did that kind of for 1 year, but the variety of play, etc., it really didn't carry through. We're talking about it a little bit again. We do have what's called the Arizona Pickleball Players League that just started up a couple of years ago, and that's sort of what replaced our inner community for our higher level players. And those are teams, but we do not host any of those games here because we don't have the court time available, to host them. So that's become very popular, I think, with a small segment of our players. And the league is growing very quickly. But again, we don't have the courts available to say, hey, come on over.
Sure, yeah. Do you have an average number of hours per week or per day that your members are playing?
Not really. I would say that there's probably 200 plus or minus players that play every day for the most part. And through open play and drop-in, they are not time restrictive. A person can come down and play either of those starting at 6 in the morning. And as it gets hot here in Arizona, that in itself will limit your ability to play. If you come down to our courts right now at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, you don't have to worry about making that you couldn't make a reservation or open play or drop in, because we were very close to triple digits already.
Oh, it's April.
Yeah.
So talk to me quickly about, because you are in Arizona, what amount of your club members are, they go maybe up to Canada or the northern, maybe the snowbird effect? Do you have many of those there?
Yes, we do. Honestly, I couldn't give you anything but a wild guess. And my guess would be, I don't know, 40 to 50%. Jeff, what would your guess be?
That's a good guess.
Yeah, leave. Now, most everybody in the club will leave at some point during the summer for several weeks. But as far as the snowbirds, those who just come for the winter and then leave for the summer, probably somewhere between 40 and 50%.
Okay. So our final question here in the chat is just high level, like how are you guys using Court Reserve to help the pickleball club?
So I'll tackle that one. I probably spend the most time in it, along with our treasurer who does the billing. But we've basically, from start to finish, we've set an online sign up through our website that allows somebody to self-register in Court Reserve if they're tech savvy. Some folks, that's a little much for them. They complete a paper form and they drop it off. But then immediately we have them set up a payment profile. And then if they chose the annual membership, that they have a recurring charge that goes through with that. We've got the secretary who approves those members, validates the address, they're a resident of the community. And then they're basically in the system and able to sign up for some of the things like skills and strategies or those round robins that we talked about if they're at the right level of play. As an administrator standpoint, I actually we have a committee that talks about court allocation. That schedule changes based on the season. So we've got it down to really 2 seasons. One is non-summer and then summer. And we change that through to the hours that we have. Myself and another person go and change those schedules around. We set up recurring round robin events and found it very easily to copy events, to use that copy feature to create that next event and then set the end date for the prior schedule. We use it for tournaments. So when we have club tournaments, folks register for that. It includes both their level that they have. Sometimes we'll have them include their gender. If they're doing skills and strategies, we might structure it so that it's related to them and a partner, for example. We customize the labels a lot, as Nancy's talked about how we're looking at how important are really ratings as a part of a social club. One of the jokes I threw out, we could even create a Granimals label. If you want to be a part of the Purple Giraffes round robin, we can do that within Court Reserve. So it's not about I'm a 3-0 sort of person. It doesn't matter. Do you want to play with other Purple Giraffes? So as we go down that structure, it's flexible. Court Reserve is able to do that. And then once you released Book a Court, Book a Pro, excuse me, we started pushing all of our coaching for courts. That was probably a 20-hour-a-week job for a volunteer to try and circle around to coordinate volunteers with people that wanted to take lessons. And so they aren't getting paid for this. So we put that into Book a Pro, and we created the instructors' schedules. Now for the instructors, it's a little bit of a hassle because each month they have to go and look at what their availability is that they're willing to commit. So there's a little organization needed by them. And then we actually go and move through that process that we now require them to have. The player has to select another player because we wanted to use that volunteer's time wisely. So it's at least 2 people. Finally, I will say that we also can make coaches that have different specialties. So we've got one that just wants to coach on tournament strategy. And so we can isolate just specific levels of expertise for the coaches, and then somebody that wants to book somebody based on that level. So Court Reserve we've been able to expand its use anywhere from membership to payment to scheduling, and make sure that we're using it the best of our abilities to get as many people through the courts as we can.
I love the Book of Pro. I love that you were able to basically give up 20 hours of human time now that there's something that works for you guys. And it's just a request. It's just a request to book that pro. So that's awesome. So we've got one final question. I guess he was probably on your website. He says, does your tennis courts, do they get enough activity to use court reserve?
That's a different club. So if they're not on court reserve, if they ever approach us, we might consider it. But I will tell you, Nancy, I probably jumped in on that.
Let's
So
go ahead.
court reserve, they're not. So.
All right. Well, I want to thank you guys both again today for just everything that you've shared. There's so many homeowners associations and communities and, just environments that are putting in pickleball courts and need to just know the basics of how to run and how to handle court hogs and how to handle ratings and how to handle memberships and what that looks like. So thank you guys both for giving our audience all of the education that they need to get started, and really appreciate your time today. Like I said, we're going to put this up on the Court Reserve YouTube channel. And if you want to find out more about PebbleCreek, you can go out to their website, as Jeff mentioned earlier. And we hope you guys have a great day. Thanks again so much.
Thanks.
Thank you, guys.
All right, take care. Thanks. Bye-bye.